employment in New Hampshire. After moving to New York, he had helped convince the Winklevoss twins, Tyler and Cameron of Facebook fame, to put almost $1 million into a startup he helped create called Bit Instant. But that relationship ended with a knockdown, drag-out fight, after which Eric resigned from the company and moved to Panama with his girlfriend. More recently, Eric had been spending many of his days in his office in Panama, dealing with investigators from the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, one of the top financial regulatory agencies, who were questioning a deal in which he'd sold stock in one of his startups for bitcoins. The stock had ended up providing his investors with big returns, and the regulators, by Eric's assessment, didn't seem to even understand the technology. But they were right that he had not registered his shares with regulators. The investigation, in any case, was better than the situation facing one of Eric's former partners from BitInstant, who had been arrested 2 months earlier in January 2014 on charges related to money laundering. Eric, by now, was not easily rattled. It helped that, unlike many passionate partisans, he had a sense of humor about himself and the quixotic movement he had found himself at the middle of. "I try to remind myself that Bitcoin will probably collapse," he said. "As bullish as I am on it, I try to check myself and remind myself that new, innovative things usually fail, just as a sanity check." But he kept going, and not just because of the money that had piled up in his bank account. It was also because of the new money that he and the other men in Lake Tahoe were helping to bring into existence, a new kind of money that he believed would change the world. The Bitcoin concept first came onto the scene in more modest circumstances 5 years earlier, when it was posted to an obscure mailing list by a shadowy author going by the name Satoshi Nakamoto. From the beginning, Satoshi envisioned a digital analog to old-fashioned gold, a new kind of universal money that could be owned by everyone and spent anywhere. Like gold, these new digital coins were worth only what someone was willing to pay for them. Initially nothing. But the system was set up so that, like gold, bitcoins would always be scarce. Only 21 million of them would ever be released, and hard to counterfeit. As with gold, it required work to release new ones from their source, computational work in the case of bitcoins. Bitcoin also held certain obvious advantages over gold as a new place to store value. It didn't take a ship to move bitcoins from London to New York. It took just a private digital key and the click of a mouse. For security, Satoshi relied on uncrackable mathematical formulas rather than armed guards. But the comparison to gold went only so far in explaining why Bitcoin ended up attracting such attention. Each ingot of gold has always existed independent of every other ingot. Bitcoins, on the other hand, were designed to live within a cleverly constructed, decentralized network, just as all the websites in the world exist only within the decentralized network known as the Internet. Like the Internet, the Bitcoin network wasn't run by some central authority. Instead, it was built and sustained by all the people who hooked their computers into it, which anyone in the world could do. With the Internet, what connected everyone together was a set of software rules known as the Internet Protocol, which governed how information moved around. Bitcoin had its own software protocol, the rules that dictated how the system worked. The technical details of how all this worked could be mind-numbingly complicated, involving advanced math and cryptography. But from its earliest days, a small group of dedicated followers saw that at its base, Bitcoin was, very simply, a new way of creating, holding, and sending money. Bitcoins were not like dollars and euros, which are created by central banks and held and transferred by big, powerful financial institutions. This was a currency created and sustained by its users, with new money slowly distributed to the people who helped support the network. Given that it aimed to challenge some of the most powerful institutions in our society, the Bitcoin network was, from early on, described by its followers in utopian terms. Just as the Internet took power from big media organizations and put it in the hands of bloggers and dissidents, Bitcoin held out the promise of taking power from banks and governments and giving it to the people using the money. This was all rather high-minded stuff, and it attracted plenty of derision. Most ordinary folks imagined it falling somewhere on the spectrum.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.